Okay, so there's no debate at all over how much money Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have cost the American taxpayer, with their hand in the cookie jar to the tune of around $150 billion of your dollars and my dollars too. The failed mortgage giants still aren't even close to being reformed. Is corruption at the heart of this multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded fiasco? Chris Farrell is the Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch, a Washington-based government watchdog. Chris, welcome. Great to have you here.
Great to be on, Jerry. Thank you.
All right, so I have to get into this right away, this Freedom of Information request that your organization put to the housing agency and were denied. What were you asking for, and why were you looking for documents?
We were looking for the political activities of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They both had very active lobbying operations. We wanted to see where their money was going, to which politicians, which campaigns. And so we asked those questions, and the answer from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is, we're not going to tell you. So we sued them in federal court, and because we think the American public has a right to know.
Well, let me interrupt you here to give
Sure.
here's the response that you got from the Federal Housing Finance Agency. Any records created by or held in the custody of the enterprises reflecting their political campaign contributions or policies, stipulations or requirements, in short, anything at all concerning campaign contributions, necessarily are private corporate documents. They are not agency records subject to disclosure under FOIA. Why is that wrong?
It's not wrong for two reasons. Number one, they're government-sponsored entities to start off with, and of course now they are in conservatorship. They are wholly owned, directed, run by the federal government. Your tax dollars are in action, and FHFA, since they control, run, direct, and operate both Fannie and Freddie, has access to all the records, the documentation that we're seeking.
It's my company and yours, Chris. It's my company and yours. All right, let's take a look at where Fannie and Freddie executives and people who worked at these companies, where they made their political contributions, because you actually can't answer the question here. Number one was Senator Chris Dodd, who got something like $165,000. Number two, the President of the United States, Barack Obama. And number three, Senator John Kerry. So these are big names. What does that tell you about the way these two entities were run?
Well, that's just it. That's why we wanted to see, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac committed these funds to these politicians for a reason. We want to know what their logic was, what the decision was, who authorized it. We want to know what their policies and procedures were, because the American public needs to know what the thinking was. What did they hope to achieve? They didn't give that money away just for charm and good looks. We wanted to know why the money was given to those politicians, for what objectives, what ends they were seeking. And the American public deserves an answer to that.
Chris, do you suspect that one of the reasons that they were so, what should we say, loyal to these politicians was that maybe they wanted favors? Maybe they wanted to be sure that their role as this special protected, they had special powers that most private corporations don't. They had a guarantee from the federal government. Do you think they were trying to hold on to that? Do you think they were looking for special treatment from the federal government?
Undoubtedly. I don't have a single doubt in my mind. That's exactly what they were looking for. Privilege, access, all the things that lobbyists, and folks who are trying to influence politicians and policymakers, what they try to achieve. And that should be documented, and it should be explained, particularly since you and I and all your viewers are paying for it.
And paying for it, it's a pretty expensive tab to pay. When you look back at what was the mortgage meltdown and the action of these two companies, government agencies, entities, in the wake of that, where do you think they went wrong? How do you analyze their actions?
What's most disturbing is that the government oversight people, so whether it's Barney Frank or Chris Dodd or others on both the House and Senate committees that had oversight responsibilities for these entities, they knew, we have documentation, it's on our website at judicialwatch.org, they knew that these agencies were in trouble, these organizations were in trouble, because number one, they didn't have audited financial statements, and number two, they were not abiding by GAAP, the generally acceptable accounting procedures. Both committees have been briefed on that going all the way back to 2003. They knew that there was monkey business, that it wasn't clear that they were playing by the rules years ago. And both committees knew it. Nothing, zero. So that's why there's a great irony when you see Barney Frank and Chris Dodd pretending to be, heroes of reform when they stood by and were either negligent or complicit. Take your pick.
Strong words from you. Chris, thanks for your help
It's true.
today.
Look at the records.
We appreciate your time, and you've got to come back and talk to us some more.
Be glad to. Thank you.